Hello. In this video I will explore a defense mechanism that I've noticed can create a lot of confusion and a lot of problems for an individual, and also in relationships, and also on a wider level in groups. It's a defense that is quite commonly used, that we all use, and it can be on a spectrum from very mild to more extreme levels. And I have my own experience of it, and I've also experienced a lot of it in my work as a therapist. And I think it's quite an important defense mechanism to really be aware of if you have in yourself, or if you have a friends or partners or family members, or on a group levels, so you can spot it and have better skills to really communicate. So the defense mechanism I'm talking about is called projection. So projection is a defense mechanism that is about you having a feeling or a sensation or a thought inside of you that you for some reason cannot keep inside of you. You don't own it. So instead you project it out on someone else, or on something else, or on a group, or on the world. So you have a feeling, a sensation, a thought inside of you, but you don't keep it inside of you. You confuse it with it being in someone else. And obviously that creates a lot of tricky situations where you're trapped in conflicts, where you get confused, and it's especially that's when you try to solve conflicts and you're not aware of this, you won't be able to solve it, since you are not aware of what is your part in the conflict, and you're mostly focusing on what's happening in your partner and the other person, and you don't realize that what you think is happening in your partner is actually happening inside of you. So not only can you are you able to solve the conflict, it's also that you are not able to solve the conflict inside of you. You are not able to solve the problem, the issue, to face and work with the feeling that you have inside of you, since you are dealing with it by projecting it on your external environment, on someone else. So I've noticed also in my work as a therapist that is very effective and crucial, that a person that is trapped in these projective processes in his or her life, that is very effective when he starts to gather everything and own it, him or herself. That makes all the difference, and then you can work with your conflicts inside of you, so that you can start to create a life that you prefer for you, and your relationships will clear out, obviously, since you are not bleeding it out on everyone else. So let's talk about further on what is a projection, and then how was it developed, and then let's talk a little bit how you can deactivate your projections, how you can deactivate other people's projections that comes toward you. So let's see. So let's look at different examples of projections. So there are some more extreme levels of projections, which is more like on a psychotic level, which is you want to hurt me, or even you are an alien from outer space and you come here to take me away. You want to hurt me with a knife, or you hate me. You are a spy. So those when it's said more like facts, like you are this threat for me, or you are Satan, then it's more extreme. Then it reveals that the person who projects actually think that is true. It's a reality for that person that you are Satan, even though it might be that that person is experiencing a sensation of Satan in him or herself, but obviously cannot. It's too unbearable, and it projects outside as well. So then it's more on a psychotic level, and when a person is in a psychosis in that way, then the external world becomes a part of his or her internal world. It's like it's no boundary in between, which is typical of psychosis. Like you believe things are true, that it's not actually true, that it's inside of yourself. So that's more like on an extreme level of projection. However, if it's more expressed like I think you are Satan, or I think you want to hurt me, I think you are bad, then it reveals that the person can mentalize a little bit more. Then it's not as a determined, it's not like a fact for the person. It's not an absolute truth. It comes that I think in between the person and what it's thinking. So then it's a bit more open for talking about whether or not that is true or not, that I want to hurt you. So I think you want to hurt me, then it's not as an extreme level of projection. And then it goes on like to more milder levels of projections, or that is not on a psychotic level, that is more on a borderline or neurotic level, which are very common then in therapy, and also very common themes like in couples who has conflicts, or friends who has a conflict, families who has a conflict, which might be you are angry at me, you are judging me, you don't like me. So all of those are quite common, and is again a sign of that there is an experience inside of me of anger, or that an experience of that, a memory that someone is angry at me, but I'm not aware of it. So instead I project it on another person. So you are angry at me is a sign that I have anger inside of me, or that I have a memory of someone being angry at me inside of me, so I cannot keep it. So then it becomes like an external event. You are angry at me, or you are judging me. It reveals that I am judging myself. I am judging myself, and or I have a memory inside of me. My body has a memory inside of me that someone is judging me that I haven't processed and dealt with. So then I project it on someone else. You are judging me. You don't like me. So again, I don't like myself, and I have memories of interpreting my external environment that they don't like me. So I project it on on someone else. You don't like me. Other common projections might also be, you don't think that I'm doing this right. You think that I should stop smoking. So then it's actually, I have a wish to stop smoking, or I have memories that other people wished a lot of things for me. So I project that memory on the person I'm with. You should think that I should stop smoking. Or actually, I think that I should stop smoking, but I don't own it. So I project it onto you. This is what you think. Or you don't think I'm doing this good enough. You don't think I'm enough. You think I'm annoying. You don't like me. All of those assumptions, that's very common. Like I assume that you think something. And when I see couples in couples therapy, where most of the conversation is about talking about what the other person is doing, what the other person is feeling and thinking, instead of talking, I feel, I think, I have a problem with this or that. then it's always a sign, okay, this is a projected process, and they won't resolve nothing if we don't first resolve and deactivate the projections, and solve it, dissolve it, so that each person on its own, each person can own their own process, their own inner process. And then when they do that, then we can see what they have to say about each other. But just this blaming business, it's just creates a lot of confusion, and also it triggers more projections. When you blame the other person, then you get projections or memories of being treated unfair triggered, and then it just goes on and on and on. So that's like the first trick if you want to solve something in your relationship, is to really, really consider, is what I'm saying actually about my partner, or is it actually more about me? And I'm going to talk more about that, because it can be tricky, because it can be about both actually. But anyway, the road to solve a conflict, or to help yourself, is always to go to yourself first. However, it might be that you are saying I feel or I think, but you are saying I feel like you are angry, I feel like you are judging me, I think da da da. So then it's just a trick. Then it's actually not that you are saying what you are feeling. You're not saying I feel angry, or I feel like I am very harsh towards myself, and that's why it's difficult to be with you, since you are sometimes not so appreciating toward me, and then that triggers my judgment on myself. You're not talking like that. You're talking about how you feel like the other person is doing, or what you feel like the other person has the problem. So that's something to be aware of. Like if you think, well, I talk about my feelings, I talk about my thoughts, but do you really, or are you more talking about how you feel about someone else's feelings? I think that's very common today, that many couples, they do say when I talk to them, well, we talk about feelings, and I'm very good in talking about how I feel. Yeah, you're good about talking about the processes inside of you, like you're good to talk about your projections, basically. So it's a good thing to be aware of. Do you really talk about your own inner conflicts, or do you talk about the other person's conflicts, or what you think about happening in the other person? So those are like very common types of projections, and projections that you actually can work with in therapy, or that you couldn't work with on your own. It's more difficult to break down, like when there are projections on a psychotic level, because you start to break down those projections, or start to question the projections, like you are Satan. Well, that depends on the patient, but then it can create a lot of mistrust and misalliance. So how you work with patients with psychosis is you work with that in a much more graded format, or sometimes it's not possible to work directly with the projections, then it's more only medication. So that depends, but that's a whole other business. But these common or regular blaming projections, those are workable. Let's look at how you can understand the projections, or how you can understand if you are projecting or not. So one trick or one clue is to think about, are you very good in talking about what other people's flaws are? What other people are doing toward you, or what you think other people are feeling? Are you very attentive to, how other people are behaving and feeling, and how they're acting toward you? And are your solution to that attentiveness to talk openly about it. For example, it might be that you are very sensitive to when someone has a tone in their voice of anger, or has a look that looks judgmental. Maybe you're very attentive to that, or you are very sensitive to if someone looks away when you talk, if someone looks at their watch when you're talking, and all of a sudden you feel dismissed, or you feel abandoned and not important. Are you very attentive to those bodily cues of how the person is acting toward you, how the person is listening to you? Are you very attentive to someone showing signs of that you are a burden somehow? Like if you're asking for a favor and they're like, yeah, I don't know, I have some things to do, but yeah, maybe I can do it. And then immediately, oh my gosh, I'm a burden. And you, oh no, you don't have to do it. It's okay. You think I'm too much. Yeah, that's also a projection. If you are very attentive to how, if people think that you are too much all the time, like looking for signs that people are thinking that you're talking too much, or that you are existing too much. And so again, yeah, if they show any signs of of being not interested, then you react. And it might be then that either you withdraw from the person, if you interpret another person's reactions to you accordingly to your projection. It might be either that you withdraw as a reaction, that when you, if someone looks dismissive at you, doesn't look at you, or if someone has what you interpret as an angry look or sound angry, it might be that you withdraw. No, never mind, don't listen to me. I'm gonna, you don't, yeah, it's okay. Or it might be that you have a reaction that you then start to talk about it, and you start to create a conflict. Why do you sound so angry, or why do you look at me like that? Why are you not listening to me? Oh, you seem to think I'm too much. I'm so sorry. Yeah, and then it's the other person feels attacked unfairly, and then it turns into a conflict, and then all of a sudden you have a conflict about whether or not the other person sounded angry or not, or whether or not the other person looked at you angry or not, instead of you dealing why you had this thought in the first place. So one question to ask yourself then is, why is it that I interpret the other person's look at me as being angry? Sorry. Why is it that I interpret the other person's look at me as being angry? Or why is it important for me that the person talking to me is looking at me at all times when I'm talking, when I'm telling a story? Why is it important to me that when I ask for a favor, that the person is immediately saying, yes, of course, yes, no, you're not a burden at all, I can do everything for you, it's okay, yeah. Why is it important for you that you are never questioned and you never get questions about anything? Why is the only acceptable behavior for you is if someone is super validating of all of your feelings, of all of your thoughts, of all of your ideas, and always look at you very attentive and always talk with a warm voice? So why is that important for you? Ask yourself that. If you are all the time, looking for someone who's talking like that to you. So a suggestion might be that the reason why you are reacting very attentive to how someone is not attentive to you 100% is because inside of you have a lot of judgments toward you. You have a lot of rejections going on toward you. You have a lot of anger going on toward you. You have a lot of thoughts about you that you are a burden, you have a lot of thoughts inside of you that you are not allowed to exist, or that you are only allowed to exist if you are not making anyone angry, if you are only making everyone happy, if you are not in the way, if you are very smooth, and if you are basically perfect. If you have all of these thoughts and these feelings inside of you, and you are not aware of it, and you don't know how then to deal with it, then it's very possible that you deal with it by creating that environment outside of you. So that's a way to try to solve, to try to get rid of all of this nastiness, because it's not nice to judge yourself. It's not nice to be angry at yourself, or to be angry all the time without knowing how to do with it. It's just not nice. It's not a nice environment. And it might be that you never learned how to face it and how to get help with it, how to deal with it, how to integrate it. So then you instead project it outside of you. So that's a solution. It's the child's solution. That, okay, so this is going on outside of me because I don't know how to deal with it inside of me. So that's number one. Number two is that the reason why you're very attentive to hostile behavior outside of yourself is actually because it once was true. So when you were a child, it was true that people were judging you. It was true that your parents or whoever was angry at you. It was true that they thought that you were a burden, or they in a way gave you the impression that you were a burden. It was true that you were not enough. This is how you interpret it. So that's also an important clue about why you project. It's because that environment that you project was once true. So as an adult, you can look at it as a way for you to try to solve your trauma by reliving it, by showing it for you over and over and over again. So if you had a lot of experience of your parent being angry at you, and it's a wound in you that you still haven't resolved. So first of all, you cannot help by being attentive to when someone is angry at you, and you pick up every little interpretation and clue and make it about you. So you're not letting someone be angry and it's okay, that's his or her anger. If it's true, it might be that you're actually interpreting anger when someone isn't angry, someone is just tired, for example, or someone is thinking about something else. But it might be that someone is angry. It might be that someone is angry at you even. But the problem is you're making it about your childhood trauma. You're making about you being the kid who cannot defend yourself. And you get just thrown back to this position of being scared and of being the one who's blamed and of being the victim, and the body relives the experiences you had as a kid, where it was all about being attentive to threats and to be attentive to when a parent is angry at you, and to try to solve the anger by acting as perfect as possible, to acting so that parent wouldn't be angry at you, or to gain control by actually triggering the anger in the parent, so that you at least had control over, okay, so now I am doing something to make the parent angry, so it's just not happening out of the blue. I have control. So that's also a strategy in a kid to feel less scared in the moment, to paradoxically to actually trigger the anger. But in any case, this is an environment that you grew up with, and then as an adult you are looking for signs that are familiar to you. So you are looking for signs that makes you feel like home, and that makes you feel in control. If you project a lot, it's like you are encouraging the signs to look for it, because it makes you feel more familiar. So, for example, saying to someone else, you look angry, it's a way you try to to solve the unresolved trauma that you had as a kid, when a parent were angry at you and you felt scared and you didn't know how to deal with it. So as an adult, when you are looking for signs that someone is angry, so that in a way you can look at it as your body is trying to solve the trauma for you, to solve the trauma. However, it's solving it in a way that doesn't work so well. You're trying to solve it by going through your external environment to ask for, is there anger outside of me? Because there was when you were a kid. But as an adult, you really have to look for, okay, so is there anger inside of me? Is there still memories of anger toward me inside of me? And even, is there anger in me? Is there anger in me that I cannot solve myself? That I could never have as a kid, and I weren't allowed to be angry, and it was never integrated with love. So now my channel for anger is actually to look for it in someone else. It's like I reflect my anger in someone else, which of course becomes a problem, because then the other person gets to carry my emotions all the time. So you're never really responsible for your emotions. And in therapy, there is a term called projective identification, which is about when the therapist is starting to act according to the patient's projection. So, say if the patient is projecting that the therapist is angry at the patient, and then the patient is starting to act in a way that can actually trigger anger or annoyance in the therapist. For example, if the patient is all the time asking, or saying, oh, you think I'm not doing this right, or you don't think I'm good enough, or I bet you think I'm doing this wrong. And then eventually it might be quite annoying for the therapist if he or she is not aware of the projective processes that going on, and the therapist might actually be annoyed, because it might be annoying if someone is all the time assuming that you have thoughts that you don't have. So in the beginning, the therapist is not, if you don't have, the therapist doesn't have a lot of thoughts like that about the patient, but eventually gets those thoughts because it gets annoyed that the patient is always assuming things. So then, if the therapist is starting to get annoyed, then there is a projective identification, and then the patient gets right. Yeah, look, now you are annoyed. And then the therapist says, he feels it inside. Yeah, I am annoyed. And then it's time for the therapist to really understand, why am I annoyed? What is it that the patient is doing that is making me annoyed? Well, first of all, is not taking responsibility for his own processes, is projecting it onto me as a therapist, and that is annoying, because then it puts the patient in a victim position, in a blaming position. So instead of acting on the annoyance as a therapist, he or she should use the feeling of annoyance as an energy to really help the patient understand, well, these thoughts, this feeling is actually inside of you. And so this process obviously happens in couples who has a stalled conflict, where it doesn't go anywhere, and that's what we call, they have a projective process going on, when it's like this mix of they project on each other, and there are projective identifications, so the projections actually become true. And then they often need help from a third eye and from a professional to help them, clear it out. So if you recognize yourself in having a lot of fear of the environment being angry or judgmental of you, or if you recognize yourself in feeling misunderstood a lot and feeling rejected and abandoned, it might be that those experiences is the clue about your past, that they were once true. However, it's also a clue that if you're stuck in these feelings, it might be that you are not dealing with it inside of you, but you project your own experiences, your own traumas on someone else or on your external environment, which not only creates potentially more suffering for you and potentially more conflicts for you to solve, which actually becomes a distraction from solving and giving attention to your own traumas. If you create more conflicts outside of you, more trauma outside, more drama outside of you, it's a distraction for actually taking care of your original traumas, your original stories inside of you. Then it might be that you are trying to solve your own difficult emotions or your own memories by projecting them outside of you. So how do you become? What do you do with that? How are you becoming aware of it? Well, first of all, consider this: everything you think about someone else, always consider that it's actually about you. So stop the temptation to talk about someone else if you have this as projecting as a problem. So all of your thoughts, when you see problems in someone else, I feel like this person doesn't appreciate me. I feel like he's not listening to me. He's not seeing me. He's always angry at me, etc., etc. So first, go through. Okay, everything that I think about the other person, might it be actually that's how I think about myself? That's how I feel inside of myself. So before you go to saying this to someone else, say it to yourself first. Yes, I am not listening to myself. I am rejecting myself. I have anger inside, or I am scared of anger. My own anger and other people's anger. First ask yourself this, and number two, then ask, okay, what is the origin of these thoughts of judgment toward myself, or of fear of anger, or of fear of not being worthy, or fear of that I'm not worthy of existence? Where is the origin? Well, I can see signs, I can have clues in my past that was actually true once, or that's how I interpreted my childhood. That was how I was met back then. Okay, and number three, well, I cannot change the past. I cannot go back and try to make it that I had another childhood. And I cannot change my past by changing my future, how someone else is supposed to act towards me in the future. What I can change is how I interpret my past in the now, so that I can predict what future that I get. So it's always working in the now. That is the clue. So if, for example, I judge myself a lot, you gain a lot by keeping that as a problem inside of you, and be very aware of, if you have that problem, you will be very attentive. You will have those glasses on. You will have the glasses of judgment on, so that you will be very attentive. If someone gives a slight little hint of judging you, you will notice it directly, and you will then have it as a proof that you are someone to judge. So just be aware of that. If you would have no judgment inside of you, you wouldn't react, or you wouldn't be as attentive to judgment outside of you. It wouldn't be a problem. So that's very concrete to see that, okay, you have those glasses on. So that's also a way to to cut out the distraction from the external environment, and just be, aware of your internal environment. And then ask yourself, so okay, so that is about my past, and then it might be that you have to go to therapy to process what feelings that evokes in you, that you were so judged, or what situation that you were judged. So the feelings work is one part, but also then to ask you, so what function does it serve to me to judge myself so much? Why is it important to me to still be this scared for anger? Why is it important to me to think that I'm not worthy? Why is it important to me to doubt myself and judge myself so much? Why is that important? What functions does it serve? And then see, what answers comes up, because obviously it's very familiar to you, and it is a scary process to stop judging yourself in that very harsh way. It is helpful to always have some sort of surveillance over you of judgment or doubt, but not in this way, not in judging your whole existence, or making it so that you cannot make healthy choices for yourself. So when you have answered, being honest with yourself if you're ready or not to let go of this judgment, or of this fear of anger, or of this unworthy thoughts of you, then you know the answer if you're ready to invite all the feelings that comes with it, and also to invite opposite feelings, like you are worthy to exist, or you the opposite of judging, or of encouraging yourself, and to see what feelings that evokes in you. So that's a good start. But first of all, in this video, a projection is first of all to be aware of everything you think about other people is a projection of you. So that's how you can also create the life that you actually like, because when you start to like things inside of you, when you start to have an environment inside of you that you like, that will be projected outside of you, so that you will also be met more with people who like you, or with people who appreciate you, or you will not be as sensitive to when people don't like you, because you have a best friend inside of you. So I'm curious in what experience you have of being projective, and what kind of unhealthy projective processes that can create in your relationships. So if you have experiences, or if you with this video maybe become aware of projections you have, please do share in the comment section to see. That would be interesting to see. And also, if any of you have an experience of working, being aware of and working with your projections, to own more of your processes than having it outside of you. So please share in the comment section if this is something that you have experiences of. And again, if you have problems with this, and if you don't know how to solve it on your own, and if you want a one-on-one meeting with me, you can contact me through livraissi.se to my website, and we'll see if we can set up a meeting. Happy to help. So I hope this video was somewhat inspirational and informational for you, and that it helped you in your work with yourself to become the person that you want to be for yourself and for others. So thank you for this time, and see you.